Alright, so you want to make a clay gnome. Go ahead and tear that chunk of clay we gave you in half. And then take a small tidbit from each half and just set it aside so you can use those for some details later. Great! Now we're going to take that first half and use the palm of our hand to kind of beat it into a slight sphere. It does not have to be perfect. We're just using it for a pinch pot. Alright. Now when you're ready for the pinch pot, you want to stick your thumb into the clay and use a crab-like pinching motion around the edges to pinch your sphere into a small bowl. There you go. Alright, that looks pretty darn good. Now we're going to do the same thing with the hat. This time you can beat it with the palm. However, you don't have to quite get a sphere. I've left mine in a loose cone shape, and what I mean by that is it kind of looks like a turd. I'm going to stick my finger in the long end there, okay, and then use that slight pinching motion again to pinch the shape of our hat. You want to make sure it fits, so compare. Mine needs to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to use my fingers and just really spread it out. You don't want for your hat to be super thin because it will crumble in, but you also don't want for either of your items to be super thick because then they have a really hard time drying out and can risk cracking in the kiln. Okay, my hat kind of fits on my head real nice and snug, so I'm happy. I'm going to use my hands and just squeeze that cone tip with my palms and my fingers. Play around with it. You can kind of tilt it, give a little zigzag, give a slight twist, flap the tip over. Okay, I'm cool with it. I feel good. Now I'm going to use a tool. I've got a pencil. If you've got a toothpick, whatever you need, but you want to be able to slightly trace or etch a line around the edge of your hat there where you want it to sit. Doing this just gives us a little bit of an outline to follow along with. You see it there? That way you know to score along that line. Scoring is when you do hatching marks with your tool. You can use any kind of needlepoint tool, the base of a paintbrush, a pencil, a toothpick. We use toothbrushes in the studio sometimes for kiddos even, but you really just want to create a really rough surface. When I'm using a singular tool like the pencil, I do like to go at least 3 different directions. You want for it to be pretty ugly. Don't be concerned, it's going to be covered up. Use a very small touch of water, not a lot. A lot of water makes your clay soggy and harder to work with. And then you want to do the hat as well, where it's going to touch and attach to the head. Anytime you are adding clay to clay, you always have to score both sides. It is very important. If you don't score both sides, your clay will not stick together. Think of it like clay Velcro. You need both sides of the Velcro, right, for it to work out. Same with clay. You have to do both sides. Just a small touch of water. I'm only dipping my finger in there and letting a few droplets go. Okay, now we're going to attach those 2 scored areas with some pressure, and then I like to give a slight twist. The twist ensures that it's really scored on there because you feel it kind of stop wanting to twist anymore, and that's when you know it's secure. I'm just using my fingers now to smooth out the bottom lip of the hat. You want that slight little bit of overhang because you don't want for your gnome to look like a cone head, right? You want for your gnome to look like a gnome wearing a small hat. So that lip is good. It gives us the illusion that the hat is sitting on top of his head. Use that finger, smooth it out. Take as much time as you like. I know some of y'all really like a good smooth surface. Alright, the base of my gnome is good. Now we're going to use our detail bits. The first detail everybody definitely needs is a nose. So do that first. I just keep it simple. Roll out a small ball. You can make it as large or small as you want, but you want for the ball to be kind of hollow. So using your pencil tool or whatever tool you've got, your finger, make it like a tiny looking little baby bowl. Okay? Place it on the gnome face where you want, real snug, right up under that hat. That makes it so that we don't have to do any eyes. It's just like his little nose is poking out. And then I'm tracing the nose, so I know where I need to score on the face. I'm going to score the nose first. Do the little edges where it's going to attach, because remember, we need both sides to be scored so it will fit together like clay Velcro. Okay, now I'm going to score right along that little guideline I gave myself. Rough it up, make it ugly. Don't forget, it is going to be covered up, and the uglier it is, the better it's going to hold. Let's go ahead and poke a hole through the middle there into the bowl. See there, I'm going all the way through. And then we'll do the same from the body into the hat. So basically, the very top of his head, you want a hole to go into that hat. This allows air and heat to travel throughout all places in your clay piece. It'll dry a little better and ensure that it'll have a safer time in the kiln. Adhere that nose where you scored with a little bit of water. And then this is a fun part. We get to start drawing the beard. I'll show you a little bit of how to make a smooth beard. You just start with all lines going the same direction, the same contour. Make the beard as wide or small as you like. I've seen some just do mustaches, and I've had goatee gnomes. Whatever floats your fancy. Alright. Now this guy, he's kind of got a smooth beard, like maybe he got conditioner or something, but I like a rough beard, so I'm going to keep going with a bunch of short hatch lines, going slightly different directions. I'm not stressing about it all looking smooth. I'm just like adding texture willy-nilly everywhere. He's a rough and tough gnome. He watches, I don't know, Duck Dynasty and hangs out in the sticks of the garden and hangs out with all the other little critters. He's not concerned about his looks. He's just out here gnoming. Okay, the basics of my gnome is done. You are welcome to use this clay however you like to do whatever details you would like. I've seen people do bumblebees, flowers, funny little feet. My favorite addition to add is flowers. So I'm going to show you how I do that real quick, because a lot of people think it's complicated, but really it's one of the simpler things to make, and it always looks awesome. You just want to make multiple balls of clay, small ones, as you can see here when I'm doing. Don't stress about them being all the same size. In fact, mine are all kind of looking very similarly sized, so I'm going to make sure I get a really small one here, because you want for them to be varied. Okay, let's go ahead and do one more. Great. Now I'm going to squish them like little pancakes right in between my fingers. Pick them up, just squish them. Make them little flat saucers. Now at this point, you might be feeling like some of your clay you saved for details are kind of drying out. I know this video moves pretty quick. I don't expect everyone to move this quick. So if you feel like your detail clay is dried out, don't be afraid to add a little water. You won't make it too soggy. The smaller pieces, you don't have to stress about that as much. Okay, now that I've made all my little pancakes, I'm going to lay them all out in line from largest to smallest, approximately. Like I said, you don't have to stress too much about it. Like a little caterpillar. And now I'm going to roll them up. I'm trying to focus mainly along the bottom of my caterpillar. That's because the top will be my petals, so I'd want to try not to squish that together. I want to leave it as open as possible. See there? Fabulous. Oh my gosh, look at that little flower. I just love that. Now I feel like I've kind of got this petal hanging out to the side, so I might try and open these up, go ahead and add another petal on the edge there to even that out so it doesn't look quite so funky. But like I said, you don't have to do flowers. You can do whatever you like. I've seen funny ears. I have seen little balls on top of the hats, like party hats. I have seen people make little clogs for their gnome. Really, the only important part is every time you are adding bits of clay to other pieces of clay or adhering them to your gnome, you have to make sure to do that scoring, and then you are good to go. Also remember that you will have an opportunity to paint these guys, so if you are like, I don't know, I'm not really feeling these details, or I'm not sure what to do, Don't forget that even though your gnome may not have a lot of extra 3D elements on it, you will have an opportunity to make that hat have the wildest paint job you've ever seen, or, really add some funky colors in the beard. All I'm saying is, don't stress if you feel like the clay building part isn't quite your flair, because you have plenty of opportunity to add more fun details later. Okay. That petal still isn't doing it for me, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it down. See, look at that clay. It don't care. It'll do whatever you like. There, that is much better. I'm going to adhere it to the side. I already scored. Y'all saw me. Look at me scoring. Adding just a touch of water, not a lot. But like I said, y'all can add whatever you like to your gnome. You want to be sure whenever you are all done to etch your name in the bottom, and then just let him hang out so that he can dry. I hope y'all have had fun. Feel free to comment on this video if you have any questions. I'd be happy to upload more live videos if y'all have specific inquiries, or, I just want to see what happens with your gnome and how they all turn out. Okay, hooray!